Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome to another episode. So in today's episode, what I really want to do is give you guys a brand new update talking all about the unemployment situation with unemployment benefits, talking about the job market, the layoffs, especially with federal workers, and also about the fact that the new jobs report was recently released. So I want to give you guys an update about that number. So if you are someone that's currently hunting for a brand new job, or maybe you're someone that's currently employed, but you're looking to build up your career because at the end of the day, someone in a position higher than you has to leave their job for that position to open up for you to take over. But if people cling to their jobs, it's going to be hard to build up your career. So the idea really is that if you're currently looking for a job, if you're currently looking to upgrade your job, or if you're currently just curious about the situation with layoffs, because I know there's a lot of people right now that are very, very afraid of getting laid off because of the situation, especially if you are someone that works for the government or or the Federal Reserve or anything in that particular world, then you have come to the right video. Or if you're curious about how the economy is doing, because this is going to impact a lot of areas of our daily lives, even if this does not apply to you, such as like inflation, the recession, and everything in that world. So with that being said, hopefully this is going to make a lot more sense by the end of this video. But as always, let's just get right to this video. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, like, comment, feel free to comment and share any thoughts, subscribe, hit the bell as we get more information, and let's get started. So we're going to start this video by talking a little bit about the recent jobs report, which came out right here. And the idea really is that they calculated and found numbers, specifically that they added about 228,000 jobs in the month of March, way above the estimates of 140,000 predicted. So they really achieve this, which is, really great news in a way. Now, it is important to notice that some of these numbers are a little bit misleading, and we're going to talk about a little bit why, so stay tuned in a little bit. But the idea is that most of the jobs that they added were in the sector of healthcare. Unemployment did tick upwards, so unemployment right now stands at about 4.2%, but is a little bit misleading because it doesn't include a lot of people in the long-term unemployed, and it also doesn't account for a lot of the new information that recently came out or that's recently going on right now at this current time, and it certainly doesn't account for the quality of jobs. So what do I mean by this is that essentially what's going on right now is that, as most people know, we've made videos already talking about that on this channel, but right now at this time, there's a trade war going on. Donald Trump is trying to do tariffs. There's a lot of political tension right now inside of Congress. And so as a result, it's really important to notice is that there are a lot of new information, a lot of new events that are going on right now in the month of April, that these numbers, because they are talking about March, are not accounted for. So when I share these unemployment numbers, that's why I think it's really important to really understand what's actually counted inside of these numbers, because a lot of things that are going on, such as like federal workers getting laid off, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, so stay tuned, they are not included in these numbers for all sorts of different reasons. First off is that for people in the long-term unemployed, they may no longer be collecting benefits, so they're not counted in those numbers. And second is that because during the month of March, the tariffs were not in full effect. They started and they were already going on in the month of March, but they were not to the extent of what we are experiencing right now in the month of April. That's why it's going to be really interesting to see coming into the month of May, when they report the jobs report for April in the month of May, how things are going to look. So that's why definitely, if you guys are interested in that video, potentially when it comes out, consider subscribing so you guys can get updates about that when it hopefully comes out, because that jobs report is going to be really significant for a lot of the things that we are doing. So that's really the most significant thing to really understand about what's going on. Now, we have to talk a little bit about the federal workers situation to also understand what's going on there, because a lot of people that are federal workers right now are very afraid of getting laid off for very good reason, or for very understandable reason. And then there's a lot of people that have already been laid off that's a federal worker. Feel free to share any comments down below if you guys have any stories to share. But the idea is that there's a lot of federal workers that lost their jobs but are not necessarily counted in the numbers. And the reason specifically is because they took up the package, specifically the new unemployment program, severance package program, where essentially what this is, and I think it's really important to understand the background story. Essentially, 2 months ago from the making of this video, specifically around late January to early February, they announced a new unemployment severance package program where what's going on is that they will essentially pay you money to leave your jobs. The motivation behind why they were doing this is that because first off, they want people that genuinely want to be there, so they don't just want anyone generic, to just be working if they don't really want to be there. But probably even more important is that they're trying to cut the labor force inside of the government in order to save money. But so, as a result, instead of doing the thing where they're just going to fire you outright, they wanted to start by giving people that really wanted to leave a chance to essentially leave by choice so they don't have to fire you for you. And so because a lot of these people are receiving a severance package, because they took up this program, what's going on is that they essentially are not counted in the employment numbers because they're not able to qualify for unemployment benefits since they're already collecting money from losing their jobs through this severance package / program. So if you're already collecting money through this, most likely you won't be qualified for unemployment. And that's why these numbers are relatively misleading, because they don't tell the full story of what's happening. Additionally, I think another big thing that's important to mention is that, and this one I think is important to bring up, essentially, although there are people getting employed, obviously, because they're creating jobs, it does not necessarily mean that the jobs are going to be quality jobs. And this is a very, very important thing, because you can create a lot of new jobs, but the story is that it's possible and very, very probable, if anything, that a lot of the jobs that are being created are like either low-paying wages, they have not kept up with inflation, they may not be the quality jobs that people want. And so as a result, it's very, very important to understand that because the quality of the jobs may not necessarily be there, there's a lot of people that maybe are employed, but not in a situation that they want to be, or they're certainly in a situation where there's more to be desired. And I think that's really important to really understand. Now, the new updated information about that program is that one thing that is nice is that they are giving a lot of federal workers another chance now to take on this program if they are interested. However, one not so good news is that the program itself and the payment is actually not retroactive, which was a very, very common question a lot of people asked, in the sense that what really is going on is that essentially because only, and if you need specific numbers, they offered that program to about 2 million federal workers, but only about 75,000 workers took on that program. And so as a result, because of that reason, they're giving a lot of federal workers a second chance not to take that program. But if they were to take it today, they've already lost out on 2 months worth of pay because it is not retroactive, which is still not bad. I mean, at the end of the day, money is still money, but obviously it would be more to be desired if we were able to get our payments retroactive to when it started in January. But of course, at least they're now giving a second chance to take on that program, and that's the big thing that's happening right now when it comes to federal workers and layoffs and everything in that world. Now, the last group of people that we really have to talk about before we maybe just wrap up this video is really going to be about the federal workers, but specifically those that are veterans. So the idea really behind this one, long story short, is that there are about 80,000 veterans right now. It's a little bit of it's something that really applied to March, but I never really shared it on this channel, so I figured it's better late than never. But the idea really behind this one is that essentially, long story short, is that there's about 80,000 veterans that are now in danger of losing their jobs. And because the situation with veterans is that they account for about 30% of the government's workforce. In other words, 30% of the veterans work for the government. So that is going to be a lot of jobs that are on the line, especially to support our veterans who supported our country for all those years during wartime, during a lot of just different situations that our country had to go through. And now they're being hit with this potential situation that's happening. So the big idea beyond this is that there's just a lot of things happening obviously inside of our economy right now. We are suffering through Trump's tariffs, so as we've just mentioned. So how Trump's tariffs is going to impact a lot of things inside of our economy, we're just going to have to see in one of the future episodes of this Kevin show that you guys are watching right now. So with that being said, that's pretty much what I really wanted to just share in today's video. So if you guys found that insightful, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. Like, comment, feel free to share any thoughts, subscribe, hit the bell as we get more information so you guys can update it and get notified about that. And hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.